The corpulent Great Unclean Ones, or Plague Lords, are the greater demons of Nurgle. Each is more or less a facsimile of Nurgle himself, both physically and in terms of their personality. All are immensely powerful, whether wielding a weapon, casting magic, or commanding the rotting armies of Nurgle across the battlefield. The grand majority of Great Unclean Ones will take on aspects of Nurgle himself equally, so much so that many servants and demons come to know and call them Nurgle himself. Now, the majority of Great Unclean Ones spend their time spreading their father's blessings throughout the mortal realms, but one is a little different from all the others. Kor'garth Plaguefather, known as the Fetid Brewmaster, Plague Weaver, and Rotting Poxmaker, among many other names. Kor'garth, like his father, prides himself in the creation of new plagues and contagions to spread throughout the world. While those that already exist are good for whatever purpose they may serve, Kor'garth seeks to create even stronger strains. His fascination with breeding new and virulent life has earned him much favour from Grandfather Nurgle himself, making him one of the most favoured of his sons. Kor'garth is not like most demons of any of the Chaos Gods for that matter, for he has no concern whatsoever with the events of the Great Game. In fact, he does his very best to stay away from the conflict while he works on more and more contagions. Many demons whisper Kor'garth occupies himself with a quest that so far none, not even Papa Nurgle himself, has been able to do: to create a plague that can even infect gods themselves. Whether this is possible or not is unknown, but Kor'garth intends to try. The Plaguefather rides upon a massive palanquin bedecked with alchemical paraphernalia, vials full of seething powder, flasks of indescribable liquid, and Hessian sacks stuffed to bursting with Nurglings. This great bulk is held aloft by a carpet of straining Nurglings, and Kor'garth is attended on by countless others, all bred by the Plague Master's poxvats. Kor'garth's Nurglings are not merely servants, they are also ammunition, for in battle Kor'garth is wont to hurl them into the enemy ranks. The unwilling projectiles burst on impact, drenching the target with disease-ridden fluids. Kor'garth watches keenly as each Nurgling's pox takes effect. Should the plague achieve Kor'garth's expectations, he gurgles with a proud father's delight. If the results do not meet with approval, then Kor'garth immediately brews a refined version of the plague, dunks a fresh Nurgling, and lets it fly once again. Of all of Nurgle's demons, Kor'garth is the most willing to enter the physical realm, finding the realms of chaos very limited in possible ingredients for his studies and experiments, and with there being a big whole world with weird and wonderful things to play with, then why not have some fun with it? A few drops of mortal blood can turn a quiescent pox into a raging epidemic. Kor'garth has discovered that ground Skavenbladder, for example, increases the virulence of red pox 100-fold. Kor'garth takes great joy in his experimentations, and for that his dungeons are full of all manners of humanoid, beast, and even demons, the more to play with. It is during his forays into the mortal world that Kor'garth has encountered the one race that has penetrated his scientific detachment to kindle his rage. These are, of course, the dwarfs. On a professional level, the Plaguefather hates the creatures for their resilience to disease. On a personal level, he is embittered by a truly ignominious defeat beneath the walls of Karaz-a-Karak. Either way, there is no doubt in Kor'garth's mind as to the first test subjects when his perfect plague is prepared. Many times has Kor'garth struck at various dwarf Karaks, and this is mostly fueled by both wanting to capture more test subjects and of course his personal hatred. Each time he has been repelled over and over again, but how many dwarfs have been carried away by laughing Nurglings, one will never know. Only Kor'garth and his servants will. Kor'garth is an interesting character as he is relatively new in the timeline of Warhammer Fantasy. In fact, he was only in some very late editions and didn't really have a lot of lore fleshed out. That being said, the reason why this character is so interesting is because he's so drastically different to most different Great Unclean Ones that were ever established during this time. What makes Kor'garth so important is also the fact that he features in the Demons timeline of the the 8th edition army book in a rather important time. This is the year 2520 of the Imperial calendar, known in Bretonnia as the Year of Woe. As mortals reckon time, it was in this year that Tzeentch sent Kairos Fateweaver to steal the 12 enchanted artifacts once possessed by the companions of Gilles le Breton. So important was this goal to Tzeentch that he dispatched the greater part of his armies to the mortal plane. So began Bretonnia's Year of Woe, where the tombs of the companions were ransacked, nearby towns were razed, and countless thousands of Bretonnians, high and low-born alike, met their deaths at the tentacles of Tzeentchian demons. Castles were of no defense, for their crude stones were easily tumbled by the sorceries of pink horrors or transmuted by the warp fires of flamers. Only at Grail shrines, where the power of the lady still waxed strong, could any shelter be found. Worse, with each artifact recovered, Fateweaver's demons grew ever more powerful. In the initial battles about Montfort and Caners, the lancers and valor of the Bretonnian knights cost the demonic host greatly. By the time 8 artifacts had been seized, only the boldest dukes would even consider taking the field. In the 12th month, with only a single artifact outside of Fateweaver's clutches, only King Leon Leonca chanced his arm, and he lost far more battles than he won. The final battle of the Year of Woe was the Siege of Mousillon, for 'twas in this city that the last artifact lay. At the height of the siege, the Bretonnian armies made one last sortie against their abusers. As they did so, help arrived from the most unusual source. Nurgle had long been fond of Mousillon, for it had been the breeding ground for many of his favourite plagues. He could not bear the thought of the city being eradicated by the minions of hated Tzeentch, and so loosed his own armies. Unaware of the wider battle being fought, the Bretonnians gave no quarter that day. They saw only an army of demons giving over to fighting amongst itself, and slaughtered everything that came before their lancers. Khorgarth Plaguefather bludgeoned Kairos Fateweaver to feathered ruin, only to find himself pierced on the points of a dozen blessed lancers. With the destruction of their leaders, both demon armies vanished, doubtless to pursue the battle on more familiar territory, leaving only their battle-ravaged fallen and the very items Fateweaver had come to steal. As you can see, Grandfather Nurgle and Khorgarth Plaguefather keep an open eye when it comes to the mortal realms, and there are some places that both of them do find entertaining and very special to them. Nurgle was not going to allow a place like Mousillon to fall to the hands of Tzeentch, or even be destroyed, as we know that such plague cities carry loads of different plagues, some of them being Papa Nurgle's very own experiments themselves. In one way here, as you can tell, Nurgle's forces technically played the force of the good guy led by Khorgarth Plaguefather. This is a rare occurrence, but it does actually happen. And before we end this video, I'll give you some tabletop knowledge regarding Khorgarth. So I've played a lot of tabletop games, and I have played against Monogod Nurgle armies before, and I must say that Khorgarth was quite strong on the tabletop, not because his spellcasting was great, because in fact on the tabletop he wasn't a great spellcaster, but because he was able to attack as an artillery piece. Chaos forces themselves barely have any artillery, so this was something quite different, especially when fighting against hordes, as his type of weapon was a stone thrower, which was effective against taking out horde units and so on. I must say that with the times that I did face against him, it was mostly with my Skaven hordes, and it could do damage if it landed. It was always an impressive character, and it's great to see him coming into the Total War series, because a lot of people did like him for that, mostly for fluffy games. You wouldn't take him in a competitive scene, but he was still fun, and that's the most important thing. You sometimes go for cool factor over anything else because, well, it's a tabletop game, you know, that's what makes it fun. I personally can't wait to play as Khorgarth. Mind you, I'm having that feeling with all the greater demons, because it's just hitting me on the nostalgia vibes. I really liked my Demons of Chaos army back in the day. I should have played them more in all honesty, but I was really heavy into the competitive scene with the Skaven because, yeah, top tier. But what do you think about this character? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below and let's start a bit of a discussion. But with that, my friends, we've come to the end of our video. Thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy the video, might I suggest giving the video a like, or even subscribing to the channel, as it really does help us out. In the description section below are various links to different social media platforms such as Facebook, Instagram, and Discord. Also in the description section is an affiliate link with Element Games where you could buy loads of hobby-based products, not just Warhammer, for 10 to 25% off. Making a purchase using that link and also our special code, which is also in the description, supports the channel at no extra cost to you, which we think is rather cool. A big thank you to our patrons. Your support means the world to us. It's amazing that people want to help a small channel like us grow and get to a higher level of content. A big thank you to Gibraltar LUSC, Ryan Bertsche, Andrew Prince and Okro for subscribing to us at our Fane level. You guys are super cool. And a big thank you to Edward Yule, VS Vasan, Aaron Whitman and Shaggy for subscribing to us at our King level. Honestly, we can't thank you all enough. And lastly, a big thank you to all of you for liking, sharing and commenting on these videos. Honestly, it's because of you guys that the channel's been growing at such a great pace lately, so we can't thank you all enough. But with that, my friends, thank you so much for watching once again, and we shall see you all again very, very soon. Have a good day.